What is going on, everybody? Tyler Brandt back here with another video, and the regular season is getting closer every single day. We are really less than 2 weeks now away from the Week 1 matchup with the Miami Dolphins. Training camp is pretty much in the rear view. Padded practices are pretty much all set and done. And now we get into some of the fun stuff. We're going to do predictions. We're going to do outlooks. We're going to do a whole bunch of fun stuff in the next few days, in the next week and change, leading up to the regular season. So we are going to start the predictions right here close to home with the New England Patriots, and this is my prediction for the 53-man roster that New England will have headed into the regular season in 2020. Now, a video like this, I want everybody to interact here. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think of my prediction. Which guys do you think will make the roster? Do you agree with the guys I have here? Again, leave it all in the comments down below, because this is the fun stuff. This is where everybody gets to really get in and have a fun and an interesting opinion in the comments down below. So without any further ado, let's get into it. This is going to be a two-part video. Part one today, the offense, and we're going to do the 53-man roster in 2020 for the New England Patriots. We'll start, as we always do, with the quarterback position. I think this one is probably going to be pretty simple. There's going to be, to me, 3 quarterbacks on the depth chart headed into 2020, and that, of course, is going to be your starting quarterback, which for me would be Cam Newton, followed by, probably in no particular order, but it's probably going to be Cam Newton, Brian Hoyer, and Jarrett Stidham. Stidham I have last because his health with his hip is probably still a question. So if Cam were to miss time, I think Hoyer would probably be early in the season, the next man up. But your starting quarterback of the 3 that the Patriots will carry in 2020 will be Cam Newton. Next up, we have the running back position, and in this group, I also lumped in the fullback position. Now, we'll start there at the fullback, and that's probably going to be Jakob Johnson. He'll probably be your main guy at the fullback position when they use him, if they use him. You may see Dalton Keene come in a role like that, too. He's someone, spoiler alert, that I also have under the tight ends, making the roster. But outside of the fullback position, the running back position, in the running back room in 2020, I think it'll be Sony Michel. Obviously, I think he's a lock. Lamar Miller, I've heard people say maybe he might not make it, but I think he's probably a lock. Damian Harris has had an excellent camp, so I think he's a lock to make it. Rex Burkhead is another great Patriot. He's been for a couple years now. I think he's a lock to make it. And finally, good old reliable James White. He's been here again for a long time, always produced for New England, and I think he is a lock to make that final 53. Next up, we have the wide receivers. This is probably, in terms of the entire defense, or I should say in terms of the entire 2020 team, this is probably going to be the worst group collectively of guys, at least in my opinion, in the regular season. I think they have the biggest question marks going in, and I think they're probably going to struggle the most. But with that being said, the wide receivers that I have making the New England Patriots in 2020, the official opening day roster, would be, of course, Julian Edelman. N'Keal Harry will definitely make it. Mohamed Sanu will be there. Damiere Byrd, I think, has earned the spot. I think he's had probably one of the better camps for the wide receivers. And finally, happy to say that he made it, but Gunnar Olszewski looks like he's going to be on the team. It looks like he's turned this fantastic training camp into a roster spot, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds for Gunnar on this team, and now getting to play some real NFL competition with a secured spot on this roster. Now, for some of you wondering, Slater is a wide receiver, but he's under the specialist. That's how I kind of categorized it. So he'll be in the part 2 of this video. But the other person on this list who may be my first man off, maybe the 54th man on this list, that's Jacoby Myers. He was good when he was asked to be last year, but I just don't think he did enough in training camp to put those steps together to make a spot on this team. I just think Gunnar has had the better camp, and I think for at least this iteration, or for right now for New England, Gunnar makes it, and Jacoby Myers is probably like my 54th guy on the Patriots, the first cut. On to the tight ends we go. This is a group I think it'll be very simple, the guys that make it. I know there's been a couple of guys that have really been brought in and worked out and on the training camp squad for this, training camp group this season. But I think simply it's going to come down to They're both rookies, Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene. I think they're both pretty much locks. And I just playing it safe here, I think Ryan Izzo's probably going to be the third guy. He's the guy with, the most experience in the system. I think he's the guy that is the most ready for NFL, talent and NFL defenses. Not that I think he'll have a major role, but I think he's probably the most ready to go. I'm going to play it safe and say him. This is going to be an intriguing group. I want to say there's going to be a ton of production here, but truthfully, I think in this day and age, the tight end is one of the tougher positions, kind of transferring over from college to the NFL. It normally takes a year or two for tight ends to get an NFL mind and an NFL shape to be successful at the next level. So I hope there's a lot of production, but I think it's going to be another weak season overall for the tight end position with promise to it, but weaker. And I think it's going to be led by both of these rookies, Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene. Finally, we get to the offensive line. Now, this is the biggest group of guys of the offense that'll be here. I have 9 making it. There may even be 10, depending on how many running backs and wide receivers they want to take in. But basically, your starters, I think, penciled in for this season, or at least to start the season, from left to right, is going to be Isaiah Wynn, Joe Thuney, as long as that arm that he hurt last week in camp is okay, David Andrews, Shaq Mason, and Jermaine Eluemunor. I think that's going to be your starting group. It seems like Eluemunor got the most snaps in practice. It looks like he looked the most consistent, and I think he'll probably be the guy week 1. Now, whether a guy like Corey Cunningham, who I think will also make this squad, can step up and take some snaps away, that remains to be seen. In terms of somebody else that I was tracking, Yadni Kajust, I think he's a very fringe. He's like that 54, 55th man. I have on my list Tyler Gauthier making the squad just because he has more experience at the center position. So I think having a backup for David Andrews would help. That's why I think he makes it. But I think Kajust could sneak in. But again, I'll have it on screen here. If you haven't seen, you have the starting 5 that we went over. And then beyond that, I have Corey Cunningham making it, Michael Onwenu making it, Froholt making it, and Tyler Gauthier making it for the offensive line. So take a look here in the full screen. This is, to me, what the 2020 New England Patriots offense will look like. This, to me, are the guys that had the best camps, that have the most experience with this roster and with this organization headed into 2020. I don't think it's definitely not the strongest group that they've ever had. I think the wide receivers will be a big question mark. The tight ends I expect to be a little bit weaker. The offensive line I think will be pretty good, but I think they may struggle, especially on the right side early on. I think in terms of this offense, you're going to see a heavy run offense. I think they're going to focus on pounding the rock and limiting the possessions that other teams get and really making the game as short as possible. I think with the emergence of Damian Harris in camp, the signing of Lamar Miller, I think they're really going to focus on running the rock. I think Jakob Johnson having a good camp will help that. Dalton Keene as a blocker I think will be interesting. So I think it's going to be a very run-heavy offense. And then the wide receivers I hope will come along. I would love to see N'Keal Harry really grow and expand this season. I would love to see Mohamed Sanu just look a little bit better and put together a little bit more of a productive season. But I think it's going to be a very interesting year for this offense, and I'm excited. I'm excited for these guys and what they can do in 2020. So that is going to do it for this video. This is the offensive depth chart for me for the New England Patriots in 2020. I may be wrong on a couple of these for sure. I want you to let me know what you think of these picks. What do you think of this offensive depth chart? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think someone should make it? Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. Let's chop it up and talk. The next video after this will be the defensive side and the specialists, the special teams. So again, it'll be the same kind of thing as this video. But once again, I'm Tyler Brandt. Again, follow me on Twitter at @TheTylerBrandt, on Instagram at TalkingPats. Leave it in the comments down below. Subscribe. This is the perfect time to subscribe if you haven't already. We're getting very close to the regular season, and that's when we're going to have a ton of fun content that's just going to be on the field, good stuff to watch and talk about. So again, subscribe. We're growing every day. I appreciate every single subscription. But that is going to do it for this video. Be safe, be good. I'm Tyler Brandt, and I'll catch you on the next video.